Security footage captures Monica Sementilli browsing the aisles of a Target store at 4:32 p.m. on January 23, 2017. She appears calm, unremarkable, just another suburban mother running errands on a Monday afternoon. But investigators would later discover she wasn't watching her shopping list on that phone. She was monitoring something else entirely. At that exact moment, 20 minutes away in Woodland Hills, two hooded figures approached her luxury home where her husband Fabio sat alone by the pool. The security system she had recently upgraded was streaming directly to her device. Monica Sementilli was watching her husband's final moments while maintaining the perfect alibi. The seeds of Fabio Sementilli's murder were planted 15 months earlier, in October 2015, at an LA Fitness in West Hills. Monica Sementilli, then 45, had been married for nearly 2 decades to Fabio, a successful celebrity hairstylist and beauty industry executive. Their life appeared enviable. They owned a beautiful Woodland Hills home, drove luxury cars including a Porsche 911, and Fabio wore an $8,000 Rolex. Monica didn't need to work. She had cleaning ladies, pool maintenance, teenage daughters in private schools. From the outside, she had everything. But at that gym, Monica met Robert Louis Baker. At 53, Baker presented himself as a charismatic racquetball coach. Members described him as having an alpha male presence with what one friend called a kind of sexual thing about him. Baker knew how to identify vulnerable targets. What Monica didn't know was that she had just encountered a registered sex offender with a disturbing history. In 1993, Baker had been convicted of lewd and lascivious acts with a minor. His victim was his own teenage stepdaughter. After serving his sentence, in a twist that reveals the depth of his predatory control, Baker actually married his victim. Together, they entered the adult film industry. By 2015, that chapter of his life was behind him, at least publicly. Now he was reinventing himself at the gym, searching for new opportunities. According to Baker's later testimony, their affair began just weeks after they met. But this wasn't simply an extramarital relationship. Baker immediately began isolating Monica through technology. He introduced her to encrypted messaging apps like Viber and Burner, applications designed to hide communications. These weren't casual suggestions. Baker was systematically creating a secret channel that would soon dominate Monica's life. Throughout 2016, the affair intensified into something far darker than infidelity. The encrypted messages between Monica and Baker began consuming her daily communications. Investigators would later discover that half of all Monica's phone communications were with Robert Baker, more than with her husband of 20 years, more than with her 2 teenage daughters combined. This wasn't just an affair, it was a complete parallel life. Monica's friend Deborah Obad grew suspicious in fall 2016. She confronted Monica directly about the relationship. Monica denied everything. Obad didn't give up. She went to Fabio himself, warning him to watch Monica's gym friends. But Fabio trusted his wife completely. He dismissed the concerns. He couldn't imagine that his wife of nearly 20 years was living a double life. The level of deception required sophisticated planning. Monica began upgrading their home security system. She contacted a camera company to install new equipment with a crucial feature: remote access from her cell phone. She told Fabio it was for safety, to monitor the house when they were away. But prosecutors would later argue this upgrade served a different purpose entirely. Monica could now watch their home in real time from anywhere, seeing exactly when Fabio was alone and vulnerable. Meanwhile, Baker was conducting his own surveillance operation. He purchased GPS tracking devices online and secretly placed them on both of Fabio's vehicles, his daily driver and his prized Porsche. Every movement Fabio made was now visible to Baker in real time. The victim was being hunted without knowing it. Jessica Sementilli, Monica's daughter, would later testify about a morning in 2016 when she witnessed something that should have been a warning sign. She saw Robert Baker in her mother's bed. This wasn't a secret anymore, at least not from the children. But Fabio remained unaware. He continued trusting his wife while she and her lover mapped out every aspect of his daily routine. In late 2016, Monica took a step that prosecutors would later call proof of premeditation. She invited Robert Baker to bring a friend to her home for dinner. That friend was Christopher Austin, a 39-year-old parole officer from Oregon who worked with at-risk youth. Austin had known Baker for years and thought he was visiting Los Angeles for a casual trip. His airline ticket had been paid for by Baker. Austin would later provide devastating testimony about that evening. Monica served them pizza and gave them a tour of the house. But this wasn't ordinary hospitality. She paid special attention to one area, the backyard patio where Fabio liked to relax by the pool. Austin testified that Monica specifically showed them this space, the exact location where Fabio would later die. During this visit, Baker told Austin a story that would become crucial to the conspiracy. He claimed Monica was in an abusive relationship. He painted Fabio as a controlling husband who was making Monica miserable. Baker said Monica wanted Fabio gone. Austin, who spent his career protecting vulnerable people, believed he was being recruited to help save a woman from domestic violence. But there was no evidence of abuse. Friends and family would later describe Fabio as loving and devoted. The only violence in the Sementilli marriage was what Monica and Baker were planning. Baker was manipulating Austin's protective instincts, weaponizing his compassion. The reconnaissance was complete. Baker knew the house layout. He had GPS tracking on Fabio's vehicles. Monica controlled the security cameras. They had recruited an accomplice who believed he was participating in a rescue. All they needed now was the right moment. January 22, 2017. A Sunday. Monica sent Robert Baker a text message that Fabio was heading to the store. According to Christopher Austin's testimony, this was their first attempt to kill Fabio Sementilli. Baker and Austin positioned themselves to intercept him. The plan was in motion, but something went wrong. Austin would later testify that he couldn't go forward with the attack that day. Perhaps doubt crept in. Perhaps the reality of what they were about to do became too real. Whatever the reason, Austin backed out at the last moment. Fabio returned home safely that evening, completely unaware that his wife had just tried to have him murdered. Monica showed no signs of relief that the attempt had failed. There were no second thoughts, no reconsideration. That night, she comforted her daughters and played the devoted wife while already planning tomorrow's attempt. Baker wasn't giving up either. He had been promised too much. According to Austin's testimony, Baker had told him about Monica's financial situation. She was loaded, Baker said, and wants him gone. The financial motive was enormous. Fabio had a $1.6 million life insurance policy with Monica as the beneficiary. Baker saw this as their future, enough money to start fresh somewhere else, away from the complications of divorce and custody battles. The failed attempt on January 22nd didn't deter them. It only delayed the inevitable. Monica and Baker would try again the next day. This time, they wouldn't fail. January 23rd, 2017. A Monday afternoon. At 4:18 p.m., security cameras captured two figures jogging toward the Sementilli home. They looked like fitness enthusiasts out for afternoon exercise, nothing suspicious about two men in hoodies jogging through an affluent neighborhood. This was the perfect disguise. At 4:32 p.m., Monica was captured on security cameras at a nearby Target store. She had told Fabio she was going shopping. The surveillance footage shows her looking at her phone. Prosecutors would later argue she was monitoring her home security feed, watching and waiting. She had established her alibi while maintaining real-time surveillance of the murder scene. Christopher Austin testified about what happened next. Baker told him they had a small window. Monica was going to the store. When prosecutors asked Austin who left the door open for them, Austin replied with one word that would seal Monica's fate: the defendant. Austin testified that the front door was indeed unlocked, exactly as Baker had promised. They entered the house. Fabio was sitting peacefully on his backyard patio, relaxing by the pool after another successful day in the beauty industry. He had worked with Hollywood stars. He had mentored young stylists who idolized him. He was an Italian immigrant who had built an empire through talent and determination. He never saw them coming. Baker attacked with savage intensity, stabbing Fabio multiple times in the neck, face, and chest. Austin testified that he covered Fabio's eyes while Baker covered his mouth. The attack was so vicious that Baker cut his own finger in the process, the same finger that would be bandaged when he appeared at Fabio's memorial service 3 days later. Fabio had no defensive wounds. He had been taken completely by surprise by men he had never seen before, sent by the woman who had promised to love him forever. At 4:53 p.m., exactly 35 minutes after the joggers were first spotted, security cameras captured Fabio's black Porsche speeding away from the house. Baker and Austin were fleeing the scene. They would abandon the car 5 miles away, leaving blood droplets inside that would become crucial evidence. At 4:54 p.m., exactly 1 minute after the killers drove away, Isabella Sementilli's car pulled into the driveway. The 16-year-old was returning home from school. The timing was surgical, precise, almost as if someone knew exactly when she would arrive. Isabella's screams echoed through the neighborhood as she discovered her father's body. She called 911, and the operator guided her through desperate attempts to save Fabio's life. But it was too late. Her father was gone, and her life would never be the same. Monica arrived home minutes later to find police cars and ambulances surrounding her house. Her performance began immediately. In the hours after Fabio's murder, Monica Sementilli transformed into the grieving widow. When her friend Elise arrived at the house, a stranger warned her not to step in the blood. Elise found Monica seemingly devastated. She remembered Monica repeating over and over, "I'm not a wife anymore," like a mantra, as if she was processing this shocking loss. But while Monica publicly grieved, she was privately focused on something else entirely. That very night, the same night her husband's blood was being cleaned from their patio, Monica began asking about Fabio's life insurance policy. She wanted to know when the $1.6 million would be released. Her priorities were clear. 3 days after the murder, Monica held a memorial service in the backyard, the same place where Fabio had been brutally killed. Family and friends gathered to mourn the charismatic 49-year-old Italian immigrant who had achieved the American dream. Fabio's sisters were there, his son from his first marriage, his colleagues from Wella, where he served as vice president. That's when something extraordinary happened. A stranger appeared at the memorial. Monica's friend Deborah Obad noticed him immediately. Something about this man felt wrong. He didn't belong with Fabio's people. Yet there he was, mingling with the grieving family. And there was something else Obad noticed, a bandage clearly visible on his left index finger. Obad was so disturbed by his presence that she secretly photographed him and handed the image to police. She didn't know it yet, but she had just photographed Fabio's killer at his victim's memorial service. The stranger was Robert Baker. He had come to comfort his lover while wearing a bandage from the wound he sustained while murdering her husband. The audacity was breathtaking. For months after the murder, Monica maintained her widowed victim facade while secretly continuing her affair with Baker. They weren't even careful about it. Police surveillance captured them taking romantic trips to Las Vegas and Myrtle Beach. Monica introduced herself to Baker's friends as Monica Baker. She was already living the fantasy of their new life together, built on her husband's blood. Monica called Detective Jean Farshaw repeatedly, but not to seek justice for Fabio. She wanted updates on DNA evidence and estimates of when the insurance money could be released. She wasn't concerned about finding her husband's killers. She was concerned about collecting her payout. Meanwhile, investigators were connecting the dots. Baker's DNA was already in the law enforcement database from his 1993 sex offender conviction. When they compared it to the blood droplets found in Fabio's stolen Porsche, they got a perfect match. The evidence was undeniable. On June 14, 2017, less than 5 months after Fabio's murder, police staged an elaborate sting operation. Monica and Baker were pulled over in West Los Angeles under the pretense of a routine traffic stop. Officers told them their car might be stolen and placed them in the back of a police vehicle to wait. What Monica and Baker didn't know was that the police car was equipped with recording devices. As they sat together, believing they were alone, Monica made a crucial statement. "Somebody must have talked," she said. "They are doing this to us." Those words revealed everything. An innocent person would wonder why they were being connected to a murder. Monica already knew. Both were arrested that day on charges of murder and conspiracy. Even behind bars, their twisted romance continued. Police intercepted jail letters where Monica signed herself as Mrs. Baker and Monica Baker. In recorded jail conversations, Baker told Monica, "I love you, baby. I really do." They were so consumed by their obsession that they continued planning their future together while facing murder charges. When confronted with the evidence that Baker's blood was found at the scene, Monica offered an implausible explanation. She claimed Baker had injured himself playing racquetball and she had given him a bloody towel. Investigators weren't buying it. Christopher Austin, the parole officer who had helped commit the murder, made a crucial decision. He agreed to testify against Monica in exchange for a plea deal. His testimony would be devastating. He described the reconnaissance mission disguised as a dinner invitation. He explained how Monica had specifically shown them the backyard where Fabio would die. Most importantly, he testified that Baker told him Monica wanted Fabio gone and that Monica had left the home door unlocked for the killers. In July 2023, Robert Baker surprised the court by pleading no contest to first-degree murder and conspiracy. He was immediately sentenced to life without parole. But in a stunning twist, Baker then testified for Monica's defense, claiming she had no knowledge of the murder plot. He insisted he had acted alone because he wanted her to be around him and with him more, like all the time. Baker's testimony created reasonable doubt, but prosecutors had overwhelming circumstantial evidence. The GPS tracking devices, the unlocked door, the perfectly timed alibi, the immediate inquiries about insurance money. It all pointed to Monica as the mastermind. After a 10-week trial, on April 11, 2025, after 8 hours of deliberation over 3 days, the jury reached their verdict: guilty of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder, with special circumstances of murder for financial gain and lying in wait. Fabio's sister Mirella said after the verdict, "Today marks the day of healing. Justice was served today. My brother can now rest in peace, and the murderers that have deceived him are exactly where they belong." On June 23, 2025, Judge Ronald Cohen sentenced Monica Sementilli to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The judge said, "In listening to the evidence in this matter, I do find that the defendant was the mastermind in this conspiracy to commit murder." Monica's daughters made emotional statements in court, pledging to keep fighting for their mother. They still maintained her innocence. The family was divided. Fabio's relatives called Monica a demon who orchestrated an unimaginable betrayal. Her own daughters couldn't accept that their mother was capable of such evil. Christopher Austin was sentenced to 16 years to life for his cooperation. The parole officer who thought he was saving an abused woman will spend decades in prison for his role in an innocent man's death. Monica Sementilli traded 20 years of marriage, her family's future, and her freedom for a fantasy built on blood and betrayal. Her daughters lost both parents, one to murder, one to greed. The $1.6 million she killed for will never be paid out. California law voids insurance payouts when the beneficiary is convicted of killing the insured. Fabio's son Luigi from his first marriage keeps his father's Rolex close. He said, "He wore this all the time. He wore it when he died. I wear it for special occasions when I want to feel close to him." Several scholarships and educational programs now bear Fabio's name, ensuring his legacy of kindness continues. But his life was cut short by the person who knew him best, loved him least, and wanted his money most. Monica Sementilli destroyed multiple families for an illusion. She fell under the spell of a sexual predator who had already destroyed one family, and together they created a tragedy that will echo through generations. The woman who had everything threw it all away for a convicted sex offender and money she would never see. In the end, the only thing Monica Sementilli gained was a life sentence and the terrible distinction of being the mastermind behind one of Los Angeles's most calculated murders.